Before the world of men, there were myths. Before monsters, there was Medusa. Beauty turned to horror by the wrath of gods. Tonight, we descend into shadow to uncover the curse, the betrayal, and the legacy of the Gorgon. This is OverWorld. The Guardian of Stone. In the hush of twilight, we enter the world of myth, where monsters and gods entwine. There, amid the whispering winds of distant shores, reigns Medusa, a name that once meant guardian or protectress in ancient Greek. Yet her fate turned this meaning to iron and stone. Medusa was one of the three Gorgons, daughters of the primordial sea deities Phorcys and Ceto. Alone among her sisters, Euryale and Stheno, Medusa was mortal, a mortal destined for a tragic fate. The great tragic poet Aeschylus spoke of her kind as three-winged sisters, loathed enemies of humankind, the snake-haired Gorgons, whom no man can see and live. Such words capture the terror her name evokes. Yet before the terror, Medusa's story was one of beauty and betrayal. In early tales, she was not born a monster, but a maiden. She grew to womanhood as a priestess in Athena's temple, vowed to keep a sacred chastity. Famous for a beauty that turned every head, even gods were fascinated by her. Among them was Poseidon, god of the sea. One night in the temple, Poseidon approached the innocent Medusa. The myth, woven by later poets, says he seduced or even forced her within those hallowed halls, a profound sacrilege to the goddess Athena. Athena's temple had been defiled by this union. In divine anger, Athena punished Medusa instead of the god. In this version, the priestess's once golden hair was transformed into living serpents, writhing and hissing with deadly life. Her face, once beautiful, became foul and fearsome, so hideous that any mortal who looked upon it was turned to stone on the spot. Medusa's transformation was both a curse and a cruelty. The poet Ovid later described how Medusa, once a beautiful maiden, was seduced by Poseidon in a temple of Athena. Such a sacrilege invoked the goddess's wrath. In other words, before her final fate, Medusa was a victim of the gods' tempers. Athena did not grant Medusa protection. Instead, she made Medusa eternally monstrous. When Athena discovered the affair, she was enraged and immediately cursed Medusa, a mythographer writes, recounting how Athena took away Medusa's beauty, turned her long hair into venomous snakes, and made her face so frightful that any who met her eyes became stone. The curse was complete. Medusa the maiden was dead, and Medusa the Gorgon arose. Cast out as a monster, Medusa fled to the edges of the world. Ancient poets say she lived on a remote island called Sarpedon, under skies thick with stars, or perhaps on the ends of Libya. There in solitude she waited, monstrous yet tragic. Envy and fear gave her only silence for company. In her hideous form, with wings of gold, bronze hands, and fanged tusks, she roamed the barren shores and caves. No ordinary man might live to tell the tale of what she saw. As one author vividly describes, Medusa's visage was encircled by scaly serpents in place of hair, and they turned all who beheld them to stone. In art and poetry, she could appear both beautiful and terrible. Some ancient vases even hint at her fair cheeks, but always her eyes were a deadly grace. Many a ship's captain or lone wanderer stumbled upon the Gorgon's lair, only to freeze in unlife the moment he dared look at her. For years, Medusa bore the solitude and horror Athena had wrought. Yet her death would come not by slow decay, but by prophecy and heroism. The mortal Perseus, sent on a quest by a cruel king, was guided by the gods to Medusa's cave. He crept in while she slept, shielding his eyes with Athena's mirror-like shield. With a stroke of his adamantine sword, He severed Medusa's head from her shoulders. In that instant, the air echoed with a strange birth cry. From Medusa's severed neck sprang forth two beings that had lain unborn within her. The winged horse Pegasus burst forth, neighing into the night, and beside him came Chrysaor, a giant warrior bearing a golden sword. These were the children Medusa had borne to Poseidon, miraculous offshoots of a moment of violence. Yet death was not the end of Medusa's power. Even in death, her gaze remained cursed. Perseus wrapped the Gorgon's head in a special bag to contain its stare, and wherever he went, he found enemies turned to stone by its terror. On the island of Seriphos, the wicked king Polydectes beheld it and was frozen forever in shock. At last, the hero delivered the terrible prize to Athena herself. The goddess affixed Medusa's head to her shield, the Aegis, where it was destined to glower through eternity. In a poetic twist, Medusa's name, Guardian, was fulfilled. The visage that once invoked horror became an apotropaic symbol, an image of evil meant to repel evilmetmuseum.org. Across Greek temples and armor, the Gorgon's face, the Gorgonian, was carved facing front, fangs bared and tongue extended to frighten away enemies. Metmuseum.org. Even the mortal hero's tool of death became a divine talisman. Medusa's legacy is woven into both fear and protection. Myths vary. She is sometimes demonized, sometimes pitied, but in every telling she stands at the dark boundary between life and stone. Her story is one of innocent beauty turned to nightmare by the whims of gods, and of a power that even death could not diminish. In retelling her tale, we wander into the shadows of an ancient world, where the line between hero and monster blurs, and even a curse may become a cruel gift of salvation. Medusa's myth persists. The girl with serpent hair, betrayed and transformed, who in death became a guardian of sorts, a monster of horror and a shield against it, forever entwined in the fabric of legend. If you walk the edge between gods and monsters, subscribe to OverWorld and let the myths speak again.